everybody, it's me, Zach. Underneath that blanket is my dog, Potato, and welcome back to our channel. Hey everybody, it's me, Zachary Michael, Zachary Marie. Hi, hello. How are y'all doing? It's been a while since I've covered anything 1,000 Pound Sisters related. If you don't know, I have a very long playlist of all of my coverage of the 1,000 Pound Sisters, of Amy, of Tammy, of their siblings and their shenanigans. And also before they were ever on TLC's reality show 1,000 Pound Sisters, they had a long history of being YouTubers prior to that. And I followed them for a very long time. But these days, typically when filming is happening and they're not posting on social media and the show isn't airing, we don't really hear a lot from the girls all that much. Tammy actually has been posting recently just about her overall weight loss. I think she hit like 500 pounds total that she's lost, which is obviously very exciting. And, I don't mean to gloss over that, but also like not necessarily enough to make a whole video about. I'm very happy for Tammy. Y'all know I've always had a soft spot for Tammy. I feel like she's been through a lot. She's done a lot of work on herself, and so I'm very excited for her. But outside of that, we haven't seen a lot of updates from either of them. Neither of them post super regularly on at least social media that I follow. It's possible that they're on TikTok a lot, and I just don't know because I don't go over to TikTok a whole lot. But in general, they're pretty quiet. It's been a pretty quiet off season from 1,000 Pound Sisters. I will say I've also gotten a lot of questions lately about like, oh, do I know when the next season's coming? Have they been filming this, that, the other? I don't know. I would imagine that as long as they have been filming for a new season, that it will come out around the same time that it normally does, which typically is somewhere between like November and January, depending on TLC's lineup. They really like to debut new weight loss shows around that time because I think this is my speculation, I should say. I think they debut a lot of shows like that around that time because a lot of people are like working on New Year's resolutions and things like that. So I would assume that if there is a new season that it'll come towards the end of this year, beginning of next year. And honestly, the reason that I don't know if they are or not is that every other off season there has been like lots of leaks, and by leaks, what I really mean is like people photographing them while they're filming out in public, like when they've gone on family vacations and things like that. Like people have taken photos of them filming with the camera crews and things like that and sent them to me. And maybe that's happening now and nobody's sending it to me, but I just haven't seen anything like that. I haven't seen a whole lot of it at all. So I assume they're filming. I think it's a hit show for TLC. People love it. People still come back to my channel to watch my recaps every season. Like, people seem really into it. So I would assume they're not dropping the ball on it, but I haven't heard anything. But anyways, really the reason that we're here today is that I woke up to a lot of notifications. I had like a text message from a friend. I had DMs from people both like in my real life and also like just like y'all sending me DMs. Tagged on TikTok in multiple places, tagged in Twitter in multiple places. Like, this is the most people have reached out for me to cover something in a long time. And all of that being said, I just rambled a whole lot and I didn't even tell you what people were sending me. But I guess if you clicked on this video and you saw the title, you can probably guess. All of that to be said, Amy Slaton was arrested just recently on September 2nd, yesterday. It was yesterday. Oh my gosh, that's crazy. She was arrested yesterday for drug possession and child endangerment. I've seen it confirmed by multiple news sources. One of the first articles that I got sent was from people.com, so I'm just gonna read through those things with you, let you know from there what's going on, and then maybe try to share my thoughts. I don't know how I feel about this. Like, I think like initially, without reading the article, my gut reaction is that like I've always cared a lot about Amy and Tammy, and I know that like in the last season Amy was going through it, right? Like, I think we all saw her really struggling with mental health. She was clearly like struggling with her relationships with her family. And I guess, like, to me, I'm worried about her well-being. Now, also, I think you gotta combine that with the fact that, like, children were involved, particularly Amy's children. And so, obviously, I'm also very concerned about their well-being. And there's also, I think, some other guy involved in this, too. So, like, I don't know how he comes into play. But it's, like, a very scary situation. Like, I hope for everybody's best interest. I hope everybody is doing well. And also, I guess what I should also say is, like, I assume that, like, you know, there's still a chance of Amy's innocence because it's very much, like, innocent until proven guilty. That's how the court system works, etc. But let's get into the People article and talk about it a little bit more. So the People article is titled 1,000-Pound Sisters Amy Slaton Arrested at Zoo for Drug Possession, Child Endangerment. And the little byline, tagline thing underneath that says, authorities responded to calls that a guest had allegedly been bitten by a camel at Tennessee Safari Park on September 2nd. It goes on to say reality star Amy Slaton is facing drug and child endangerment charges after being arrested at a Tennessee zoo. On Monday, September 2nd, the Crockett County Sheriff's Department responded to calls of a guest reportedly being bitten by a camel at Tennessee Safari Park in Alamo. Officials confirmed in a Facebook post. And actually, I think somebody did send me that Facebook post, so maybe I'll go check that out as well. I think somebody tagged me on Twitter and they were like, oh my gosh, like, this is my hometown, Zach. I know all the people involved. Like, I know literally, like, the people who, the cops who arrested her, this, that, the other. I could be paraphrasing that incorrectly or misremembering it. I literally was, like, looking at it amongst, like, 1,200 other tweets, DMs, etc. But I feel like I saw the Facebook post too. So if I can find that, we'll go over that after we get done covering the, well, actually, it looks like it might link to the Facebook post in this article too. So we can go take a look at that as well to see if there's anything additional that would be helpful to know. It says, upon arrival, deputies were immediately overtaken by suspicious odors coming from the guest's vehicle, the post read. Slaton, who has starred on TLC's 1,000-Pound Sisters since its premiere in January of 2020, and Brian Scott Lavorne, who he is, I don't know. I know that Amy has had, like, several boyfriends since leaving Michael. From the mugshot of him that I've seen, I didn't recognize him, but that doesn't mean that I don't know who he is or, like, that I haven't seen him before. Anyways, they were arrested and are facing charges of illegal possession of Schedule 1, illegal possession of Schedule 4, and 2 counts of child endangerment per the Post. I also don't know exactly what the schedules all mean. I think from the things that I'd been seeing from people is a lot of people suspect it was marijuana, but I would assume that there's something else going on if there's 2 different, like, schedules or, like, classes of drugs and things like that. So we can look into that more as well. It says Lavorne, who was in the same vehicle as Slaton, is facing the same charges, and both of them have been booked into the Crockett County Jail. The authorities have not identified who was bitten or given any further information about any injuries sustained from the alleged camel bite. Alleged is such a funny word there. Like, are they suggesting that it's possible nobody was actually bitten by a camel? Because that would also be crazy. And then this says, the charges and allegations referenced in this release are merely accusations of criminal conduct and not evidence. The Sheriff's Department added in the Post. The defendant is presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt and convicted through due process of law. And then it looks like the article just goes on to kind of, like, talk about, you know, Amy's life post leaving Michael, which I think we all know about, but if you don't know, she left Michael last year in 2023, and she has 2 kids with Michael, Gage and Glenn, and she was really struggling last season with, like, leaving him, and mental health wise she was not in a great place. Which I think is just my concern. I mean, another thing that did happen in recent history was, like, the TikTok live she did where she had, whichever was the youngest kid, I think Glenn is her youngest child, had Glenn sitting on her lap while she smoked a cigarette, and people were very concerned about that. I'm being Alright, so there she is smoking. This beginning part is her smoking with the kid on her lap, just so you get the full context, and then the rest of the video is really her getting upset about people getting upset about her smoking, which I think is something to be discussed. So let's get to. So there she is, still smoking. Looks like a new cigarette.
Everybody that's asking me if I smoke, do y'all smoke? Let's be real, do y'all smoke?
Well, obviously you smoke. Obviously you smoke because you're smoking. You're smoking right now. You just had that cigarette in your hand, girl. I'm sure. I mean, reasonably, it's kind of terrifying to think that she was in a car with like any kind of substance with her kids, because that is obviously maybe not the best of choices. Like, not a great look for Amy Slaton to have those kinds of substances around kids in a car. I will say also, this sounds like the kind of like zoo where you like drive through and there's animals that are like freely walking around your car. Like, I've been to, where is the one that my family used to take me? There's one that's like by St. Louis. I want to say it's like something related to Bush, like the Bush family that runs like Anheuser-Busch and all of that in the St. Louis area, but I could be wrong. But there was like a farm zoo situation type of deal, and you drove through it, and I remember there were llamas. The llamas were always fine for me, but I was always freaked out because there were ostriches, and you could like roll down your window and like feed the animals and things like that. It was too much for me. It was #team too much. But that kind of sounds like potentially what this was like. Like, I could see a world where they had like the windows rolled down to feed camels and then maybe got bit by them or something. Lots of questions to be answered. Okay, I did try to click the link that people.com had to the Facebook post, but it said that the link was unavailable, so I don't know if the sheriff's department took the post down or something like that. But I did go and check out, and the Twitter user that reached out to me with the Facebook post originally, their name is Anna Durrance on Twitch, and they said, Amy Slaton was arrested yesterday in my tiny hometown. I literally know everyone and their mama on a first name basis that arrested them, to the park owner and the people that work at the jail and the judge. The post said, from feeding a camel to the slammer, Alamo, Tennessee, September 2nd, 2024. It was no ordinary Labor Day in Crockett County. Deputies were requested to respond to Safari Park, where a guest allegedly was bitten by a camel. Upon arrival, deputies were immediately overtaken by suspicious odors coming from the guest's vehicle. Amy Slaton Halterman, 1,000 Pound Sisters reality TV star, was arrested on illegal possession of Schedule 1, illegal possession of, this says Schedule 6, which is different. I don't know if there's just a mix-up between like Roman numerals or what's going on here, but this post says Schedule 6. People had Schedule 4 listed, and then it says, and 2 counts of child endangerment. Brian Scott Lavorne was in the vehicle as well and is facing the same charges. Both subjects have been booked into the Crockett County Jail. I think I read most of this part already. Oh yeah, and then this last paragraph is just confirming what people also said, which is that they want to remind people that these are allegations, and like Amy and whoever this Brian guy are, they both have, you know, the opportunity to have their case heard in court. So they're in Tennessee. Let's see. Tennessee Schedule 1 drugs. This has, let's see, what is a reliable source for these things? I'm not a legal expert. I've never been in trouble with the law, let alone in trouble with the law for anything related to drugs, so I don't really know what all of these things mean. Google's suggesting that Schedule 1 drugs have no accepted medical use and a high potential for abuse. It looks like Schedule 1 tends to be like heroin, LSD, ecstasy, but it looks like sometimes marijuana can be considered a Schedule 1 drug. And also looking at like some different websites, depending on if it was actually Schedule 6 or Schedule 4, it looks like some of those things could also refer to marijuana. I mean, I think for Amy's sake, it really does matter kind of what the drugs in question were. I mean, I think a lot of people are in a place where like marijuana is certainly a more acceptable drug to be partaking in than like, you know, heroin, for instance. So, you know, that would probably make a big difference to know specifically what's going on. But even then, like, potentially smoking marijuana with children present, like smoking marijuana in a car with children present, participating in that with children present, I think there's lots of fair questions to be asked and certainly things to be concerned about. Like, how are you going to take your kids to like a safari park situation type of deal and like be high while you're doing it? Like, that is very concerning as a concept to me, even if it is just marijuana.
I think, to be fair, it's important to note that the articles and the Facebook posts didn't necessarily say that Amy or this Brian character were high. It seemed to maybe just suggest that they were, since there were smells of suspicious odors and things like that. But technically, they were just charged with possession. So I just wanted to clear that up, because nothing that I read said that they were actually high at the time. But even then, having those things on you while in a car with your children and potentially putting them at risk of like you getting arrested while there are children in your car is still obviously very concerning as a thought. Also, as a point of clarification, while I was editing, I saw an additional news report from like a local news station that said, in particular, the Schedule 1 drugs that they found were illegal mushrooms, and then the Schedule 6, here is 6, not 4, so I think maybe people.com got it wrong, but anyways, the Schedule 6 drugs that they were in possession of was believed to be marijuana, and that they are going to be like sending off the illegal substances for testing and things like that. So I just want to make sure to give that clarification as well, since I found that after the fact, after recording.
Regardless, I think the biggest takeaway here for me is just that I'm concerned for everybody. I'm worried about Amy. I was worried about Amy during the last season of the show. I worry that, you know, she is not getting the help and support that she needs. I worry that, you know, she's participating in self-destructive behaviors, and that's all very concerning to me. And I think what's also concerning to me is, like, the kids. Like, I worry for their well-being, for their health. I feel like, you know, maybe Amy is not in a place right now that she can adequately care for them or take the best care for them. And that's really sad to me because, you know, part of Amy's journey on 1,000 Pound Sisters was talking about how much she always wanted to be a mom and how that was the most important thing to her. And I would just hate for her, like, poor choices and her lack of, you know, resolving her mental health to result in her losing the one thing that she's been fighting so hard for in her life, which is being a mother, having children, and things like that. So, I don't know. Let me know your thoughts down below. Best of positive energy and thoughts and vibes going out to Amy's children and all of Amy's family. I'm sure it is not an easy thing for them to navigate and figure out right now in this moment. So, you know, positive thoughts and energy out to all of Amy's family. That's all I have for today. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did and you're brand new to my channel, consider subscribing down below. Hit the bell button so you get a notification every single time I post a new video. I have an entire playlist of 1,000 Pound Sister related content, so I'll leave that linked if you want to go get caught up from the very beginning. Make sure to leave me a comment, hit like, click share, and follow me on all my social media. I love you all so much. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!